This time we take a ride out with the Ducati Owners Club to an Italian bike meet in Lydbury in Shropshire.
Take your camera angle, Tom. Take your camera angle. So, like that on the bike, take your camera looking.
We met up at a popular bike haunt in southern Shropshire, where we met up with a local branch of the Ducati Owners Club. These are the guys we're going to be riding with today, and even though we didn't have Ducatis, although obviously Tom did, they were really obliging and were quite happy for us to ride along with them.
I tried, I was like, I'm not making it.
Truly the most challenging part of the entire journey was trying to get off the car park. For Tom at least. It turns out Ducatis have no steering wheel.
Go.
The leader of the ride out, who incidentally rides a very nice Ducati Damar, led us out through some lovely, twisty, really enjoyable country roads. Just the kind of thing that motorcycles were made for. Our destination is the Powis Arms in Lydbury, and it's here that there's a gathering of Italian motorcycles. As we found last year when we visited, it's a surprisingly large one, with most of the better known brands well represented, and a few you may well not have heard of too. And just like last year, the event was blessed with beautiful weather. So nice indeed that one rider commented they should hold this event every weekend. That way we'd be guaranteed good weather in England. Total ride time was around an hour and was set at a pace that was comfortable for all. And indeed even the ride out itself was better attended than the previous year, with around a dozen bikes taking part on this occasion. With a lovely mix of bikes from 70s right through to modern day Ducatis of all types, as well as myself and Deb on our Gutsies, and there was a very nice Laveda up near the front too. But as with all things, rides must end, and eventually we drew into Lydbury North and the Powis Arms. Oh, look at that one, 254. Benelli, 4-cylinder 250 that is. The number of bikes in attendance is massive, so I'll try and break it down by just showing them brand by brand. Benelli is a post-war Italian brand and still exists today, of course. And on show today were two Riverside badge machines. One was a 350 and the other a smaller two-stroke. The Riverside badge incidentally was applied by some machines sold by Wards by mail order in the United States. Similar to the way in which people rebadge Chinese bikes today. But hands down the most exotic Benelli and perhaps the craziest machine actually on display was Benelli's 254, a 250cc single overhead cam 4-cylinder, which although wonderfully exotic, was also exotically expensive and wonderfully impractical too. The styling is truly wonderful. That fuel tank deep within that bodywork is actually very small, giving the bike a rather puny range. Similarly, the engine is high revving and produces most of its power at the top end, and it doesn't actually make any more power than a lot of parallel twins of the period. But it still looks and sounds absolutely fantastic. So who cares how practical it is? One of only two MV Augustas present was this wonderful Brutale, in a specialist paint job. But it's always a great shame that nobody ever seems to bring out those classic 4-cylinder bikes. Maybe they're just too expensive to risk. Either way, if you've got a bike, bring it out. Bikes are for riding after all. The second MV on show was this wonderful 350cc GT Electronica, and these machines are as rare as they are beautiful, because while the performance was pretty good by the standards of the time, they were, not surprisingly, very expensive. So seeing one of these machines out in the wild, so to speak, is a rare treat indeed. It's often forgotten these days that, with the exception of scooters of course, Moto Guzzi was Italy's largest motorcycle manufacturer during the 1970s, so it's not surprising that there are a number of classic machines on show today, including this lovely example of a V7 Special, one of a couple of pre-Tonti framed examples on show. But there were some Guzzi singles too, including a handful of Nuovo Falcones.
But it's only just got it out actually.
Electric start actually.
But it makes that thing look fast.
Yeah. I think this.
I've got a
You get it wrong again.
But it's the Tonti frame bikes that are of course the most numerous, including this lovely Mark I California, and of course a couple of very nice examples of Guzzi's iconic Le Mans. But if there was a prize for a shiniest bike of the day, it must surely go to this Mark I Spada. Bringing us perhaps a little more up to date, we have the 1100 Sport and the sales flop that was the Centauro, despite its use of an up-to-date chassis and a 4-valve head. Fortunately, these were followed by the V11, which was a much better seller, for they were replaced by the Kark family of engines, the last of Guzzi's traditional big block overhead valve engines, including of course my own Breva 1100. There were some up-to-date bikes of course on display, including these very nice V85s. It's a bike I've test ridden myself and did like very much, but will it replace my Breva? At the moment I just don't know. And there was a couple of the new V1000s, a bike about which as a traditional Guzzi fan I'm still a little undecided. Is it too modern? As last year, the event was very well attended by a group of Laverda owners, from parallel twins to triples, and while some machines like this lovely example were standard, there were a number of nicely customised race replicas. Not surprisingly, there were quite a few Ducatis on show. Most of them were V-twins, but there were some very lovely Desmodronic singles. The Damar has always been one of my favourite bevel drive Ducatis. I love its neat styling. And there were a couple of the models on show, including this very nice and very rare SS model. If you want to see an influential Ducati, look no further than the Panther, the father of all the belt drive machines which would follow, including this very unusual Indiana. A rare and unusual Ducati to be sure, and only the second one I think I've ever seen. While many riders like Tom favour the SS air-cooled sporty model, this is a Superlight 900, and was one of a number on show. Ditto the Monster, there was a number of monsters of all generations brought along. from these early stripped down originals to the later more elaborate machines. Somehow the Ducati monster has never lost those magic ingredients. For those more sensible Ducati riders, yes, apparently that is a real thing, the ST4 is an excellent choice, and a few were brought along. But for some, Ducati is all about the superbikes, and there were a few members of the 916 family on show at this lovely 998.
I can imagine he spends, if you wanted to buy one of these, it's probably up to 15 grand or more. Quite possibly.
The 999 replaced the 916 series and has never been as popular. It's seen as a sort of ugly sister. But for me, these series of bikes are still great looking machines. They may lack some of the glamour of the 916, but that doesn't mean they're ugly. They really are very pretty machines, with a style all of their very own. The last two Ducatis I've selected definitely fit into the batshit crazy category. There's the Hyper Motard, truly one of the balmiest machines ever created by anybody, and a naked, yes a naked V4. How and why, I've no idea. Like Ducati, Cagiva was a company once in the ownership of the Castiglione brothers, and this would result in a range of truly interesting machines that made use of Ducati power units. Although the name is often now associated with scooters, Galore was once one of Italy's greatest motorcycling names. Produced with stunning 4-cylinder Grand Prix bikes, as well as excellent road-going singles. And decades later, these would inspire a Japanese businessman to approach Galore to produce an updated Saturno 500 single, which they duly did and created this stunning little calf racer.
These were a weird concept. A Japanese guy, well not exactly entrepreneur, but yes, busy one. And they sold all the ones they made off in Japan. They did sell some in Europe.
Owned for some years by Harley Davidson, Air Mackie would produce a range of stunning horizontal single-cylinder machines, which were successful both on-road and on track.
You know the off-road shit?
Motormoony is a company best associated with smaller capacity machines, but probably their most famous bikes are their V-twins of 350 and 500 cc's, although some 250s were created too. Motormoony Setabello, 175 cc's of pure class. This was truly turning into an epic day, stunning weather and beautiful bikes. But at some point, you've just got to pack up and leave. And so, after a wonderful few hours, we reluctantly headed home. And let's hope the event is held once again next year. We'll certainly be there, but will you? If there are any other classic bike events or any bike events you think it's worth us attending, let us know below. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and of course thank you very much for watching.